Everyone, welcome back. This video is hopefully going to be a little bit shorter. I'm just going to talk about a few of the myths about meditation or mindfulness as well. So the big one that I hear all the time is meditation is about clearing your mind, right? And in some ways it is about clearing your mind, but this idea that you're going to be able to attain this thoughtless state, and that if you're not actually doing that, that you're failing at mindfulness or meditation. Now, this is something that a lot of meditation teachers butt up against all the time, is people saying, oh, like, I'm not good at meditation, I'm not good at mindfulness, my mind just runs wild. And they often just have to tell people, they're like, you know that this is like a practice, right? You get better at that over time. It's not like you're going to be able to just do it right away. It's a skill that we haven't cultivated, okay? Mindfulness and meditation are skills, right? They have to be built up just like anything else. And so we want to go easy on ourselves. We are learning something basically from scratch, right? And the other side of this is, why would I want to clear my mind? Like, I like my thoughts. I get really good ideas, or I'm creative, or what have you. And so the idea is not actually to clear your mind, although this is possible to do, to practice meditation to a certain degree that we actually are able to focus our mind so much that we don't have thoughts, right? But that is really, really, really high level stuff, right? This isn't going to be even within the first probably 5, 10, 15, 20 years if you're going down that route. It's to gain control of what passes through our mind. If we're able to gain control of what passes through our mind, then we'll probably be more pleased with what actually is going on in there. And we can arrest the thoughts or ideas that are intrusive, the negative thoughts or what have you, if we're stuck on a certain thing, something that angered us or something that's coming up the next day that you have no control over. We can interrupt that, and we can simply choose a different narrative. There's those ideas of like, I'm not good at it, I can't clear my mind or whatever, but it's not about clearing the mind. It's about letting the thoughts come in and then letting them pass without getting really attached to them. Oftentimes we get very attached to the thoughts that are coming into our mind, so much that they become our reality. This is what we are trying to gain control of, and it is very possible to gain. So another kind of myth about mindfulness and meditation is the so-called trance, when people think that people get tranced out, where they're kind of not present, right? And this is not necessarily the goal either. These can be like kind of higher states that people can get into through these things, supposedly, right? But the goal is, like, you're not doing it wrong if you're not completely blank, right? And in a trance, right? Whatever a trance really is. Often people don't necessarily define that either. But we have this idea of somebody who's sitting in meditation and you can't snap them out of whatever they're in, right? But this isn't necessarily being completely blank. It's about being laser focused and being able to shut out the outside world should you choose to. And should we be doing that on a regular basis? Maybe not. Maybe we want to be engaging with the world more, right? And in this case, we can use that focus to engage with certain things in the physical world with more focus and with more clarity and with more awareness and consciousness. So the goal is not to be blank or in a trance, right? That's kind of that's the Western kind of outlook on what these things are. And we have all these containers for what we think meditation and mindfulness is that aren't necessarily the truth. There's another myth that I should talk about is if we're relating this to meditation and mindfulness specifically, is that if you don't have like an hour to do it, then why bother? The studies on this, scientific research, peer-reviewed studies, actually suggest that you get a huge amount of benefit from even having 10 to 12 minutes of daily meditation and mindfulness practice. 10 to 12 minutes is not that long, right? And you actually find rewiring going on in your brain. The brain goes into a state of neuroplasticity, right? And that's after just 12 minutes. And there's even some research to suggest that even 3 to 5 minutes can be hugely beneficial. There is some reason to believe that doing it for longer periods, you can get more benefits from it. And I would say that probably, 30 minutes to 50 minutes to even like an hour is great if you have the time, right? But even just making time for a 5-minute break to engage in those things is beneficial. So we don't want to go into all or nothing mentality. We want to be building these habits, and this relates to practicing our musical instrument as well. We often think we need to be spending a certain amount of time practicing every day. And if you don't have time to do that amount, then why even bother, right? But this is kind of ridiculous, right? No offense to anybody who feels this way. But all or nothing mentality is not very beneficial, right? But what we want to do is to build a habit, which is largely what we're talking about in this course, is we want to engage with that on a daily basis, or a somewhat daily basis. Even if it's not every single day, we want to be doing it most days, or at least on a certain schedule. And we can engage with that just by doing 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or what have you, and then we can lengthen that as that gets stable. Another myth I just want to cover very quickly is this idea that if you have trouble focusing right now, like let's say you may have ADHD or ADD or some other type of disorder, or let's just say that you have trouble focusing in general, that you're never going to be able to improve upon that. Now, I don't actually think that the literature out there supports that. I'm sure there are some, but I think with new research and things that are coming out about neuroplasticity and things, that we can improve upon these things. And the only things that I've really encountered to actually improve upon our focus is meditative practice, contemplative practice, mindfulness practice. Because the whole idea is that we aren't good at focusing. We've never been taught how to focus properly, right? When we are in school, we're often almost shamed for not being able to have that focus. Why aren't you able to focus? You need more focus. But it's this thing that we assume that we are able to do, right? Even though nobody has actually taught us how. And the general kind of way of teaching people how to focus is by getting angry at them. And then people think, well, I'm just bad at this then, right? Now, as I said, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist either. I don't have a huge amount of research to go on to support this either way. But it's my idea that through practicing these certain things that are literally there to help you learn how to come back to focus, we can improve that, for lack of a better term, that muscle in our brain. I know it's not a muscle, but those connective pathways in our brain, right? Because of neuroplasticity, we are able to learn these things. And that focus is not an innate ability, it is a skill. And the only way I know how to actually get better at focus is through meditation. Because the idea is that you have an anchor point that you're trying to focus on. In a vacuum, usually, you're sitting down in a quiet room, right? There's not a lot of stimulus going on. And when your mind strays, we become aware that it strays, and then we bring ourselves back to focus, right? And sometimes we can go off for like 5 whole minutes, and then we remember that we're meditating and we come back. And is that a failure? No, it's not a failure. If you come back, that's a success, right? There's a teacher named Sharon Salzberg, a Buddhist teacher, who is quoted saying, "The healing is in the return." Okay? If you stop practicing guitar for a month or 2, or practicing meditation for several years, let's say, we often think, oh, I have to start back at square one. No, you don't. Because the fact that you are going to be starting again is the practice. Even within meditation, even within practice, it's coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back. It's repeating. It's doing it again and again. And if we stray, we come back. That is the art of meditation. Okay? So that is the way to build focus, build our willpower. And some people will be at a disadvantage for this, right? It's going to be more challenging, right? But don't take my word for it. A lot of these practices that come from people like the Buddha, even he says, don't take my word for it. Try it out. See if you come to the same conclusions. So I'm going to say the same thing. Try it out. Try it for a while. You might only have to do this in your guitar practice or music practice for a few minutes out of the session and see if you actually do get benefit from it. Okay, I'm going to leave this video there, and I'll see you in the next session.